Now we will discuss about the island country, that is the Japan. So China we have already discussed its geography, its ethnicity, the language which is spoken in China, and the food which is eaten in China. Now the turn is of Japan. So what kind of the country Japan is? You can see that this is an island country. And why it is called an island country? Because it lies in the middle of Pacific Ocean, and there are many islands which had made Japan. Like in the northernmost island is the Hokkaido. So Hokkaido island, which is in the northernmost part of Japan, and it is inhabited by a minority community, that is the Ainu. The central part of Japan, which is the main island of Japan, this is called as the Honshu, and very close to Honshu, that is Shikoku, and in the southern part of Japan, that is the Kyushu. So there are 4 islands which makes part of Japan. So Japan is a string of islands. The 4 largest island is Honshu, that is in the central part of Japan, Kyushu, that is in the southern part of Japan, Shikoku, that is also in the southern part of Japan, and Hokkaido, which is the northernmost island. The Okinawa chain is the southernmost, about the same altitude, that is the Bahamas. So there is one small group of islands that lies in the southern part of Japan, and almost it is on the same equator, same line of latitude upon which the Bahamas is also located. Where is Bahamas? Bahamas lies in the southern America, near the Caribbean island group. So that experiences a tropical kind of climate. It receives a very good amount of rainfall, but the northern island, which is of Japan, it experiences a very cold kind of climate. So we can see that there is also diversity in the climate of Japan. Now we will discuss about the topography of Japan. You can see that this brownish color which is shown over here, it signifies the mountains. So 50% land of Japan is mountainous area, so that cannot be used for agriculture, and 50% part of Japan is the plain area which is used for agriculture. And overall agriculture in Japan is not that good as compared to China. Japan is situated in a very active earthquake zone. Secondly, this is situated on a fault line, and a lot of earthquake is experienced by Japan. As a result, the architecture in Japan is also affected by the earthquakes which generally occur in Japan. And because of the earthquake, Japan also experiences a lot of tsunamis. So Japan is a country which experiences maximum earthquake and tsunamis. So this is also not in favor of Japan. These geographical features influence the architecture that we discussed. The population is largely Japanese, and there are small Ainu minorities. So maximum population in these islands is Japanese, but there are some minority communities also available here, and that is the Ainu. So Ainu that we discussed in the last slide, it is located in the Hokkaido group of island, that is the northernmost group of island. There are Koreans who were forcibly brought from Korea when Korea was a Japanese colony. This is Korea. Once it used to be a colony of Japan. In 1941 it was a colony of Japan. It was occupied by Japan. As a result, many Koreans were transported from Korea to Japan, and they were transported as the worker. So these Korean people also makes a sizable number of Japanese population. So that is all about the geography and ethnicity of Japan. Now, like China, we will also discuss about the Japanese food habit. You can see that this is a dish of Japan which is very popular around the world. Japan lacks the tradition of animal rearing as it is done in China, but Japan is not having animal rearing. Agriculture is also not that good in Japan. Rice is the staple crop of Japan. Fish is the major source of protein because Japan is an island country which is surrounded by water from all sides. As a result, fisheries is a major occupation of Japan, and the fish which is captured from the sea, that makes a major source of the protein to Japanese people. Raw fish has become a widely popular dish around the world as it is considered very healthy, and mainly the dish which is popular around the world, that is called as the sushi, and this is the image of that sushi, and it is made with the help of rice and some other cereals. So this is the most popular dish of Japan, which is also very famous around the world, and it is made by the fish that is called as the sushi. Now we will read about the Japan, its political system, how it became a developed economy, what kind of economic and political policies were followed by the Japanese government, that we will discuss here. So Japan, we will discuss about its political system. An emperor from Kyoto had ruled Japan. So Kyoto is considered to be the heritage city of Japan, and the ruler of Japan, who used to be the most important figure in Japan at that time, he used to live in the Kyoto, and he was ruling from the Kyoto. So this is the social pyramid of Japan. You can see that the emperor is at the top. Thereafter there is shogun. Shogun or daimyo were called as the military commanders. So they were the military commanders. And thereafter samurai. This was a warrior class. Samurai were like the knights, as the knights used to be there in the Europe. The same way there used to be the samurai class in Japan, who used to fight for the daimyos or the shoguns, and shogun used to fight for the ruler. Thereafter there used to be the peasants and artisans used to produce the silk cloth and some other products. So these were in this category. And thereafter there used to be the merchants who used to do the trade. Japan was also a trading power at that time. So traders were also there in Japan. So this was the social pyramid of the Japan, in which the ruler used to be at the top, and thereafter there was the shogun. But this situation changed after some time, and shogun became more powerful than the emperor, that we will discuss. But by the 12th century, the imperial court lost power to the shogun. It means the emperor who used to be at the top, now shogun replaced him and he became more powerful than the emperor. But emperor was not removed from his position, and the rule was done in his name, but the real power was now lying in the hand of this shogun, and shogun used to be the military commander of Japan. They ruled in the name of the emperor. From 1603 to 1867, members of the Tokugawa family held the position of the shogun. So the Tokugawa dynasty, they ruled for a long time in Japan, and the meaning of the Tokugawa is isolation. And Japan used to be an isolated country, and they kept the Japan as in the isolation. That's why that dynasty was called as the Tokugawa dynasty. So they ruled for a long period of time in Japan. So this is the political system of Japan, which was existing at that time. Now you can see that Japan was a string of islands, and there used to be many daimyos. So daimyos used to rule in different domains in different parts of Japan. So there were nearly about 250 daimyos. Daimyos were like the nobles. They used to rule in different parts of Japan, and there were total 250 daimyos. So daimyos were also having their small troops, and they used to help the shogun during the battle or during the war. But the daimyos were also could be a challenge. The daimyos could also be a challenge for the shogun, because in the time of crisis, or when the shogun would become weaker, and the daimyo could replace the shogun. So they wanted to control the power of these daimyos, and as a result the shogun exercised power over the dominial lords, ordering them to stay at the capital at Edo. Earlier the capital was Kyoto, where the ruler used to rule the country. But now, after the shogun coming to the power, the ruler was displaced from the Kyoto, and he was brought in the Edo. So, and these daimyos, who were 250 lords ruling in different parts of Japan, they were also ordered by the shogun that they would also stay in Edo. So why he asked them to stay in Edo? There is a reason. Because the shogun was afraid that how he replaced the ruler of Japan, the same way he could also be replaced by these shoguns if he would become weaker. So they should not become a danger for him in the future. As a result, he wanted to keep an eye upon these dominial lords. These were known as the daimyos, and all the 250 daimyos were asked to remain in the capital, that is the Edo. Earlier ruler used to be in Kyoto. He was taken to the Edo, and all the lords daimyos, these were also asked to live in the Edo. And in Edo there used to be shogun who used to keep an eye upon them. And this yellow color tells us about the territory of Japan at that time. So it was a vast country at that time. The shogun also controlled the major cities and the mines, which were an important part of the economy of Japan. That was also controlled by the shogun. This is the map about the Tokugawa dynasty which used to rule the Japan. So you can see that this is Hokkaido, Honshu, and this was the Tokugawa Empire, and all the dominant lords were asked to live in the Edo, and it was renamed as the Tokyo. So the old name of Tokyo was Edo, and where shogun used to rule. And they were also doing some administrative changes at that time. So they made some administrative changes, and now we will discuss about those administrative changes which were done by the shogun. First of all, in the late 16th century, three changes laid the pattern for further development. First of all, the peasants were disarmed and only samurai could carry swords. Samurai, as we discussed, that they were the warrior class. They were like the knights which were there in the Europe. The same way these samurais now could carry the sword, they could have the weapon, and ordinary peasants could not have the weapon. So why this decision was taken by the shogun? He believed that there may be the armed revolt against him at any time if the peasants would be having the weapon. As a result, they were disarmed and the weapon were now given only to the samurai class, and they were having the license to take the weapon with them. And samurai class used to be very loyal to the shogun. The daimyo were ordered to live in the capital, that we already discussed, that all the daimyos were shifted to the capital, that is Tokyo, so that the shogun could have an eye upon these people and they could not do an armed rebellion against the shogun. Thirdly, land survey identified owners and the taxpayer. Land survey was also done, and that was done by the shogun so that he could generate more revenue, he could generate more income. And through these land surveys, he tried to identify the peasants who could pay him the greater taxes so that the income of the country could be increased. So these three administrative changes were done by the ruler of Tokugawa dynasty. Now we will discuss about the economy of Japan. So here we are discussing about the economy of Japan. Increased use of money and creation of stock market led to the economy in new ways. So the first stock market was created by Japan, and that was created in the field of rice. So rice stock market was created by Japan. So this was a modern kind of economic reform which was made by the Japan. And apart from that, they also reformed their economy. Through the period witnessed some social and cultural changes also. Chinese influence was questioned and study of Japanese literature promoted. Mainly Japan adopted all the cultures of China, because China was the cradle of their culture. Mainly China was the home of their culture, but now they wanted to remove the Chinese identity and they wanted to create their own indigenous identity. As a result, they discarded the reading of Chinese language. They wanted to create their own culture. They wanted to read their own literature. As a result, the indigenous literature was promoted by the Japanese people. Second was import, which was there in Japan. A lot of import was done in the Japan. So imported luxury goods, mainly silk, which was imported from China and India. So the best quality of silk at that time was produced either in China or in India. So that silk was imported by the Japanese government, but that resulted in the unfavorable balance of trade, because Japanese used to purchase these luxury goods while paying back with the gold. So they used to give gold in lieu of these luxury goods. As a result, due to the flow of the gold outward the country, the economy of the Japan was shattered. As a result, the government took a decision that henceforth they would not pay in the gold and they would reduce the import from other countries. So Japan paid these goods by gold. That shattered the economy of Japan. It created disturbance in the economy also. Tokugawa put restriction in export of the precious metals like the gold, and they tried to produce the luxury goods which were brought from outside, that they should be produced within the country. You can see that this is an image of the stock market of Japan of that time, where the dealing is done in rice. So this kind of stock market or modern form of economy was there in Japan at that time. So in the last slide we discussed that how the modernization of economy of Japan was done. Now they wanted to reduce the import of the silk which was coming from India as well as China, and they wanted to fulfill the demand of domestic market by producing the silk in their own country. So they started the industry of silk in the Nishijin. So we will discuss about that. Steps were taken to start a silk industry in Nishijin, that is in Kyoto, to reduce the import. Nishijin was the name of a quarter where 30 or 40 people used to live. So they started producing silk for the first time in Japan, and thereafter that industrial region was named as the Nishijin. So you can see that these are the women who were producing silk. So maximum workers in the silk industry at that time were the women. The silk from Nishijin came to be known as the best in the world. It shows that economy developed in new ways. Earlier silk was coming from China or India, but now they were able to produce silk better than from China and India. As a result, they became self-reliant as far as the silk cloth was concerned. That period also saw the emergence of many women writers like Murasaki, who wrote in the Japanese script while men wrote in the Chinese script. So when the women worker used to be there in the silk industry of Nishijin, they became independent. So financially and economically they were becoming independent. As a result, they were having a better prestige in the society, and these independent women also became the writer, and they wrote their own literature. They also wrote about their own problems. They also wrote about their rights and needs. So one such writer was Murasaki Shikubu, and she wrote in Japanese script. So generally these women used to write in Japanese script, as well as the men of that contemporary time used to write in the Chinese script. So they promoted the Japanese script. A fictionalized diary of Heian Court written by Murasaki Shikubu, the tale of Genji, became the central work of the fiction of Japanese literature. So the book which was written by Murasaki Shikibu, she was a woman writer, and the name of that book was The Tale of Genji, in which a circumstances or situation is shown where woman was choosing her husband according to her wish. So that kind of liberty was given to the women in Japan at that time. So there was a lot of development in the cultural and social sector also in Japan. As far as the Japanese development is concerned, it is not only in the sphere of economy, it was also in the sphere of society and culture.